Hey folks, Keep It Wausome podcast. I am here with Trevor Roark, bicycle entrepreneur. Trevor, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks, BK.
So the business you started is called Curbwise. I have that right?
That's right. Yep. Curbwise LLC.
Cool, man. Tell me all about that. So it's a bicycle delivery service. I got that right?
Yes, exactly. So bicycle delivery or courier. So our slogan is delivery cranked out, and it really is focused on people power through pedaling. So whether a business in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, is interested in delivering their foodstuffs, their
Hmm.
hot pizzas, or coffees or danishes, whatever it might be, or if a business has some sort of hub in town here and they want to just distribute locally and kind of dispersing their goods. Basically, our Curbwise business is going to be able to do that on a very street level scale.
Interesting.
So, yeah, yeah. So, very excited about this new business.
Now, is this kind of like the bicycle version of say like Eat Streets or when it, like the car version of that? Is this sort of the bicycle version of that, or tell me how that differs?
Kind of. I think their business model is a bit different than
Hmm.
mine. Well, first and foremost, I have a triple bottom line commitment. So people, planet, profit. And notice how profit, the third P is at the end.
Yeah.
So focusing on the people first, right?
Hmm.
Myself as the only owner operator currently with this small business. And then the people I work with, the relationships I build. And then if the business grows as I plan, scales up, then I would be working with other people. And I'm going to focus on them first. Uh, so planets next, of course, it's fairly easy to lower your carbon footprint if you're a business deciding to work with a bicycle delivery business, right, to
Yeah.
distribute goods. So even though it's innate within this business model, there'll be other ways I'll be seeking to positively affect the planet. Um,
Sure. I guess I'm
and then,
trying to figure out the nuts and bolts of it before we go any further. So, I mean, are you
yeah,
basically contracting with a business and then you agree to do a certain type of delivery, and then as it grows, you'll add more people because you're adding more businesses, or is it? It's not like they contact you, hey, I got a delivery at 2. It's more like you're going to do
right.
all the videos or all the deliveries for this business, and they give you a schedule. Or yeah, tell me more about how that works.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it's more about partnerships with those businesses and finding out what their needs are. So
Hmm.
the model is different in that, let's say there's a Thursday where Cafe X wants to deliver their lunches to whatever customers that want bicycle delivery. And
Hmm.
then we as a business would commit ourselves to the lunch hour, right? And then be on demand for that. On the flip side, if it's another business that wants to move boxes of supplies across town, but they can get 50
Yeah.
boxes from here to there within a single week, we can space that out and logistically do it differently. So yeah, it's kind of a similar model in transporting goods locally, but different, and that each partnership would be different.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's some flexibility there. There's some different types of ways that can work based on what you're doing. I
Yeah,
want to,
exactly.
yeah, and I want to ask you, how do you fit all that in? Because you run UWSP Adventure Tours as well, right? Or is,
No,
oh, here we
actually,
go.
I know that's
Okay.
it's nice to bring up, but I actually lost that position at the university.
Oh, bummer, man.
Yes, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was kind of messy with the position getting cut, but with worldwide travel being affected by coronavirus right now, it kind of makes sense in that position getting cut at this time. At the same
Mm.
time, it is a blip in the radar screen, and eventually travel is going to pick back up, and people are going to be moving all over the place.
But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man. And
Yeah,
I guess I'm a little
thanks.
surprised because, like, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's not permanent, and presumably at some point they would want those adventure tours to continue. So
Yeah,
um,
they do have, I think they do have currently a dormancy plan
mm,
in place, but currently I'm not running that. So whatever those folks decide is
mm.
what will happen. So they might offer me a position in the future, but I'm not sure.
Gotcha. Well, you got this going on now. So
Yeah.
how many businesses are you working with right now?
Well, I just started with one. So
Okay.
the Stevens Point Area Co-op, I
Hmm.
partnered with them recently to deliver groceries. So
Cool.
we'll be delivering groceries every Monday, year round, and any type of weather pattern you can think of. I mean, if there's a tornado coming through, I'm not gonna hop on my bike, but
Yeah.
yeah, we'll be year
There's a
round.
if there's a tornado, I'm sure people won't want to come to their door to get the delivery either. So it's probably a win-win. But now,
Exactly.
what kind of bike are we talking about? I mean, are you into the e-bike side of things yet, or is this?
You know, I haven't ventured into that yet.
Mhm.
BK, basically, it's a cargo bicycle,
Yeah,
but really it is a tricycle. So
gotcha.
it was built by this really cool company out of Portland, Oregon called Icicle Tricycles.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, so they make them in shop there in Portland, and it's a specific ice cream box design.
Hmm.
And really, the initial um, purpose of that style of bike is to sell ice cream or other type of vending treats out of the box directly.
Hmm.
But what I've done is I've adapted it to haul around groceries right now.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So that's the current rig, as I call it. But I am currently building a trailer, a cargo trailer, to haul a lot more poundage.
so when did you start Curbwise?
We launched it the 14th of September
Oh, so we're
in
brand new,
2020. Yeah,
brand new.
so
Yeah,
10 days ago.
10 days ago. So have you've made two deliveries then? Is that two
Hmm.
Mondays?
Yeah, two
Two days
delivery
worth. I mean,
days.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been slow to start, but
Hmm.
I didn't think it was going to kick off fast because
Yeah.
we're talking about, changing people's habits and understanding that there's one delivery day and kind of getting people into the routine of, hey, I can actually opt in for a lower carbon footprint to get my groceries.
Now, did you choose one delivery day so that you have those other days open for other businesses that might want to sign up with you? Is that the idea?
Yeah, actually, there's three reasons. One, it's the
Okay.
best day for the co-op. So
Oh, okay.
I wanted to work with them with what they saw as a good fit. So another reason is because just what you said, if one day works well for me, and it leaves it open for other businesses that have interest in bicycle delivery. And the third one was, oh shoot, slipping my mind. But yeah, I think flexibility really.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that? What was that first day like?
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was, there weren't many deliveries, so it was nice to, kind of pilot it and
Hmm.
go through the whole process and review the logistics when it was all done. So yeah, it was
Sure.
cool.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see more of this type of thing because I know there's a pizza place in my neighborhood. It's actually set up in an old Pizza Hut. You know, so many of those
Ah,
old Pizza Hut buildings are
sure.
have closed and
Hmm.
it's like a New York style pizza delivery service. But they've started
Cool.
bicycle delivery in my neighborhood.
Nice.
So it's
Cool.
like
Have you ordered yet?
I haven't no.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, the problem is I've been making homemade pizza and it's so good. I haven't wanted to
Oh,
order takeout, but I do want to at some point I do want to get it because I want to try out the bicycle delivery. Actually,
cool.
I kind of had the idea maybe I would do a day or two deliveries for them because I do enjoy riding my bicycle anyway. So
Hey, there you go.
you
If
know
they're hiring,
my
why not?
neighborhood's like perfect for it. You know, it's like this little probably 3 mile radius
Yeah.
block of land basically. So, you know, it's a perfect
Yep.
little neighborhood to do bicycle deliveries in.
Sure. It's
Very
probably
flat, all flat.
flat. I was gonna say,
Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to reach out to him and see how that's going because I think that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So, but yeah, I
Yeah.
wonder if we're going to see more of that type of stuff popping up because
I have a feeling.
there was a guy doing. Yeah, I want to follow up with him too because there was this guy doing. It was like an Uber service, but it was by a bicycle. So he had
Okay.
these he had these like rickshaw type
Like
bikes that
pedicabs?
were yeah like a
Yeah.
pedicab exactly, and he had gotten them from I think from someone in Minocqua.
Okay.
So he had a couple of them, and he was just going to go
Cool.
ride around at events, and he was going to have an app where you could actually, within a certain radius, geo mapped, you could actually call him, and he would come.
Hmm.
One of the issues that came up too was he thought, well, this is a great thing for bar time, but everyone, the city council was not so keen on that, and they're like, well, if you have these bicycles around, around bar time, it's kind of dangerous. And I thought,
Oh,
well,
I would disagree, but
well,
anyway,
yeah,
I don't
actually,
want to get political.
I do. Well, I do disagree too because
Yeah.
I never like it when it's there's people doing things that are against the law, so you have to change your behavior. It's like, well, they should change their behavior. Maybe we should just have less
Hmm.
drinking and driving. But especially when something
There
that
you
would
go.
actually take, would possibly take drunk drivers off the road. I think that's something
Exactly.
that you should be embraced. It's kind of like telling people, well, you shouldn't walk home because there might be drunk drivers, so you should get in your car instead. I
Right.
don't,
Uh,
but
just
yeah,
walk home with another person, one or
exactly.
more people, and then you're good. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that stuff is interesting, but it was interesting that we're seeing more and more bicycle based
Hmm.
businesses around. And one thing that also really surprised me this summer, I went with a trip to my dad to the Heart of Vilas trails up.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've been up in that
I
way.
haven't.
Great
Nope.
little day trip that you can make, or you could even do like a multi. You could do like a long weekend trip, staying at various places if you wanted to too. It's a 50-mile trail that goes from like Sainer through Saint Germain, Manitoux
Okay.
Waters, Boulder Junction, like all these little trails up north, completely paved. It's a paved trail.
Wow. Nice.
It's not a rail trail like a lot of the longer trails in the state.
Right.
So it's I don't know. I really want to know how I'd love to know the politics of how it got put together because
Right.
it seems unlikely. Like
Sure.
from what I know about the Northwoods and
Hmm.
from how bicycles are usually looked at, but it's pretty cool. Like it's kind of like winds through the trees and it it goes through by various campgrounds and stuff and it stops through all
Hmm.
these communities.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and we went to so we biked some of it, and then we went to Boulder Junction for lunch, and it was so busy we couldn't eat there. And not
Oh,
only
gee.
was it so busy, but there were like people with bicycles all over Boulder Junction. I'm like,
Wow.
this is so cool. Like, but the
Yeah.
trail was just, I mean, there was tons of people on it. It was so cool to see people
That's
making use
awesome.
of this. Um,
Super
that gave
cool.
me a lot of hope, It gave me because people were not just like riding the trail and going home, but they were riding the trail and then taking it to businesses and
Right.
patronizing those businesses. To me, like
Hmm.
that's what you want to see.
Right. Those connections, and it makes us as bike advocates remember that it really is about connecting places, not just
Right.
accommodating in short spurts. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's kind of a bummer. Sometimes you have to start with those spurts and work on connecting them. And, there's some
Yes.
patience involved sometimes, but
Yeah. Hmm.
sometimes a little frustration, but it's
Right.
always better to do it and not rather than not do it. Because a lot of times if you put that a lot of times that's the spark that will lead down the road. Well, we only have this 1 mile stretch, but now when you want to do that other mile, you can say, well, see, we
Hmm.
already have that mile, so we have a reason to
Right.
connect it. So
Yep.
these things kind of all link together, I think.
Exactly. Yep. Baby steps.
Yeah. Well, how are people reacting to you making these deliveries on bike?
I've seen a lot of positivity
Mhm.
since I haven't been. I mean, since we're so new, and when I say we, I'm used to saying we in my
Right.
historical approach to business. But yeah, my business is very new, so most of the positivity I'm seeing is people talking to me in person, if I'm riding the bike, doing a promotional run, or if it's online. Yeah, there's been tons of positivity
That's good.
surrounding it, and I haven't seen any negativity.
Mhm.
Maybe, there's people out there that think, oh, I would never need such a service, but maybe there's a need that I connect with that they're not aware of yet, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, you never know. Never know when reaching those new customers.
And when people order delivery from Curbwise through the co-op, do they know that it's bicycle delivery, or do they just present it as delivery and you show up on your bicycle?
No, they present it as bicycle delivery.
Okay.
Yeah, I've actually read up a little bit on the psychology of that, and it sounds like historically it's better just to list delivery if your sole provider of delivery services is bicycle. But I think that's actually changing.
Hmm.
Plus, the target demographic of the co-op is such that if you have bicycle delivery, it's probably someone that's going to more often opt in for that specifically, as
Yeah.
opposed to just some sort of car delivery. Because then they'll say, oh, it's the same carbon footprint, and I
Mhm.
drive anyway. I might as well just, drive the mile or two to the co-op. Yeah, so I think that's
Yeah.
part of the sales
Yeah,
pitch
that's
of it.
exactly why I brought that up, because I wondered if there had been sort of a shift. And yeah, I would think a business like the co-op would be all, the customer base there would generally be all over that sort
Right.
of thing.
Yeah, and I think it might also depend on um, what other apps that the business is working with, because so many
Mhm.
currently are working with DoorDash, Grubhub, and Eat Street that if you don't actually articulate bicycle delivery, they might not be happy with that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it more important now than ever. It's probably important to articulate.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what happens when the co-op goes to the Altenburg building? Is there some opportunity to for some other businesses they're going to also be going in there for them to do bike delivery?
So you may have read my mind, but or yeah, telepathic, BK.
Thinking ahead.
Yeah, yeah, you're a forward thinker, I know. So yeah, I think there is some potential there. I actually put
Mhm.
the bug into the co-op's ear a little while back. Specifically, a friend of mine, Lynn Chiro, they mentioned
Mhm.
that this has a potential for their central city market. And I don't know if you're how familiar you are with that model, but it sounds like they're planning to use the Altenburg building as a hub for distribution.
Yeah.
So yeah, so as in for those listeners out there that are new to this, basically a distributor might come into town, into Stevens Point, drop a certain load of certain goods off at the Altenburg building, which is probably roughly a mile and a half away, maybe two, and then make a second or another stop at the co-op like it normally does. So what they're intrinsically doing is they're increasing their their inventory, and they'll be able to drive down costs a bit for their customers.
Yeah.
So there is a potential there to run goods back and forth between the hub and the regular co-op store.
Yeah, and I guess for listeners who might not be familiar with the Altenburg building project, it's essentially was an old brick dairy building, kind of in the middle of. Would you say it's smack dab in the middle of Stevens Point
Pretty
thereabouts?
much, yeah,
It's
right,
pretty much,
right
yeah.
next to the railroad tracks.
Kind of by belts for people outside the Stevens Point area. That's probably gets you pretty close, I would
Yep.
say. And the idea is that instead of having this building being torn down because it was nearly to the point where it needed to be demolished. Instead, co-op and some other businesses like Siren Shrubs, they've been on the podcast before.
Mhm.
What's the cider one?
Oh, upstream cider.
Upstream Cider, yeah, and
Yep.
there's another one too, isn't there?
A couple tapped maple syrup.
Yeah, maple syrup. Yep. And
And I think Rising Sand Organics might be, or that might be the upstream cider component.
the Main Grain Bakery is going there too.
Main Grain,
Yeah, don't
yes, yes,
forget
yes,
about them.
of course.
That would be a good one for bicycle delivery.
I think so. Yeah, I've actually connected with them. Sarah Joe had mentioned to me through Facebook that they might not be ready for it because of how they sell out, how fast they sell out. So I think this is part of their expansion scheme with the Central City Market. So maybe once they're
Mhm.
modifying that new space, maybe they have capacity at that point.
Yeah, so the idea is they're all partnering together and they're going to put together this, they're all going to kind of share this building, share some of the expenses, and kind of have all these
Right.
like local businesses, mostly food based, from what I understand, food based
Yep.
businesses,
Yep.
all in one kind of hub called the Central City Marketplace. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, you know what Sarah Joe could do is they could have a cupcake day, and like the whole thing is that you deliver cupcakes on that one day.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
they could take orders beforehand, so you know exactly how many to make. So you don't, you can do that on the side. That'd be the way to do it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if they had, and they probably do, a promotional budget, they could do a cupcake giveaway, prize giveaway,
Mhm.
you know,
Or it
enter
could
your
be,
name in,
it doesn't have to
and
be
then,
cupcakes. It could be a scone day or something like
yeah,
that.
right.
Or scone and a coffee, and then you bring someone a scone and a coffee. That's a good delivery.
That'd be awesome.
That's some value add there.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And now is it a charge that the does the business pay you, or do they charge the customer for the delivery service?
It's really going to depend on the business. So,
Mhm.
like for example, the co-op, we worked on an agreement of just doing a flat fee that each customer would pay. So
Gotcha.
it's right there. That's up front. They're kind of acknowledging right away when they order that they're paying this fee. Um, when it comes to like say cafes or restaurants, I'm gonna probably negotiate with them and determine
Mhm.
what they want. I know that the big three right now, Grubhub, DoorDash, and Eat Street, they're getting to be more competitive, and I think they're listing a free delivery service to customers outfacing. But internally, I know that the restaurants and cafes are paying a lot of money to fund these delivery services. I read
Right.
somewhere recently in cities around the country that they're charging anywhere from 25 to 40% of the bill,
Wow.
which to me is kind of outrageous.
Yeah, that really dings the old margins there, especially in something like a restaurant where the margins are usually pretty
Hey.
low already.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah, so
rough.
that's actually one of the pain points I'm going to address when I approach each food service business. In that, is there a better way to operate where you're investing more into people and the quality of the service as opposed to something that might be a little bit faster, but at the same time, that money is shipped outside of our community?
Yeah, for sure. How do you as a bike guy, how do you feel about e-bikes? Because I want to bring this up because I have to admit when e-bikes first started becoming a thing, I thought, well, that's great. Nothing I would ever need. Maybe someday if I'm
Mhm.
old or something. But the more I have a friend who runs e-bike escape, which is a YouTube channel that's doing pretty well
Ah,
now,
oh,
and
cool.
he reviews e-bike stuff, and he's kind of convinced me of the merits of them. I haven't gone out and bought one yet, and I
Hmm.
probably won't for a while. But one of the things he says a lot is that they kind of take away a lot of barriers to cycling that people might otherwise have. If
Yep.
something's like 10 miles away and you're like, oh, I don't want to get there all sweaty. It kind of takes
Hmm.
that barrier away. You're like, oh, that's fine. Like
Right.
I can cruise at like 15 in a pretty relaxed pace in terms
Hmm.
of like, my actual aerobic output and still get there in a good amount of time and
Right.
arrive
Right.
without being all super sweaty and just for
Hmm.
getting stuff, putting stuff, hauling stuff. I mean, they're just excellent. And I don't
Yeah.
know, how do you feel about that whole thing?
Well, I'm kind of on the same page as you, BK. When
Mhm.
e-bikes came out, um, kind of from the American standpoint, as well as even fat tires after that. I was a bit like, that's a nice novelty. Cool. Some people need it or just want it. But as I see how ubiquitous they're becoming and kind of understanding more about the physics and the barriers, just like you're talking about, really, I think both of them are pretty awesome. Um, when we talk about, in bike advocacy world, as you know, when we talk about extending someone's life uh, in riding, let's say you get to an age of, say, 75 or 80 years old, and you're not as fit as you used to be, and your bones are physically more fragile,
Yeah.
and et cetera, et cetera. Those barriers kind of melt away with the e-bike, and even sometimes with the
Right.
fat tire bike. So just thinking about the perspective of bike advocacy, to me, it makes a lot more sense now. It's
Hmm.
like, wow, and this is why I'm pretty well infatuated with the Dutch and their cycling economy, and they're always riding their bicycles from everything to getting to the train, getting groceries, meeting people at restaurants, and everything between. But they can extend their life. Usually they're cycling till their 70s, but now they can go into their 90s
That's
with
amazing.
these e-bikes, and their sales are rocketing.
That's awesome.
So it's really interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm a fan now.
Yeah, me too. And one of the other things that they do, I think that's pretty impressive, is that they, I think they remove barriers for some people to replace cars.
Mm-hmm.
You
Exactly.
know, because for some people, a bicycle alone might be tough to. There might be some tough to reach places that they might not be able to get with just a bicycle.
Right.
Um, Especially if it's up hills. Hills are a big thing too. That those e-bikes really take it. They just take them away. They remove it,
Right.
and I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so yeah, I've definitely warmed up to them in a lot of ways. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to go out and buy one yet. I think it'll be a little while. I'm still pretty happy
Yeah.
just riding my bicycle,
Same.
especially
Same
now.
here.
Especially in these times, I don't have as many places to go anymore. Um, most of the time when I do go somewhere, it's somewhere nearby, and I can ride my bicycle,
Hmm.
just my regular bicycle. I actually redid over the winter. I retooled an old mountain bike I had into a single speed, so I've been enjoying that as my commuter.
Mm,
And I got panniers for
cool.
the rack, and that's been my go-to bike. But I do think at some point, and yeah, my friend Ryan gets a lot of bikes for review, sometimes at pretty good discounts, and so there might come an
Cool.
opportunity where a price is too good and I can't pass it up and I got to go for it. But
Right. Right.
but yeah, it's been
Yeah.
nice. My gasoline fueling has been about once every month and a half, so that's always nice.
That is awesome for sure. I'm with you on that. I mean, when it comes to the business, Curbwise, it's a little bit different perspective as well because the big barrier in biking goods year round is going to be that snow and ice.
Mhm.
I've been biking personally, just carrying towing a trailer for kids or groceries or whatever myself since 1998. So it's not a
Mhm.
problem for me, and even if there's a foot of snow on the ground, I can still manage through it, right? But when it comes to hundreds of pounds of goods, um,
Yeah, then it gets
it's going to
challenging.
take some trial and error. Yep, and
Hmm.
bike might be part of the fleet in the future.
Yeah, yeah, I would think once there definitely might come a point where that would make a lot of sense for your business and what you're doing with it. I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one other thing we can talk about is how long has it been since Green Tea stopped being a band?
Oh boy. Um, let's see. Well, that'd be 2013.
Has it been
Yeah, I
that
think.
long, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
2013, I believe.
And
Yeah.
how long were you guys a band? And what did you do in the band now?
Well, I started the band with a friend of mine in college named Eric Fee,
Okay,
who actually lives in Germany now and works for their climate negotiation team. Pretty cool job.
nice.
Yeah. Uh, but anyway, we started the band back in '99, I think it was 1999. Whew. Yeah, and so um, yeah, I was guitar player. I also ended up picking up the bowron, which is the Irish drum, and then eventually decided to start singing as well. Yeah. So we had
Nice.
a, roughly 13, 14-year run.
Yeah, I thought you were the guitar player, but I wasn't 100. I didn't remember 100% sure, so I thought I'd ask. But
It's
yeah,
been eons ago.
do you still do you still play?
No, unfortunately, no.
Really?
I do dabble a little bit with teaching my kiddos how to play. But yeah, ever since the band broke up and kind of shifted gears a bit, so to speak.
Mhm. No pun
Yeah,
intended, right?
no pun intended. Well, maybe. Um, so after shifting gears, yeah, I didn't play much just for that. Yeah, I might have dabbled around here and there, but
Hmm,
my calluses are gone. We'll say that.
gotcha. Well, I kind of picked it up. I had that too. I was in bands when I was in my teens and early 20s. And when my last band kind of broke up, I also quit school and I was a music major. So I kind of like
Ah,
it kind of all crashed down. I kind of left music. I kind of had this big like break with music and I didn't play for a
ah,
while.
oh,
I'd pick it
sure.
up. I kind of like you. I would dabble once in a while, but I just kind of didn't want to for a while, and now I'm kind of back into it again. Now I'm writing music again, and
Nice. That's
but
awesome.
especially once COVID hit, then I really kind of dove in because I had a lot of free time. But
Gives
yeah,
a
I
nice
know
excuse.
what you mean with that. Once the band broke up, and we were pretty serious about it. But after I
Yeah.
realized not everybody in the band was serious about it,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the tricky parts about a band that a lot of people don't realize is you all really have to be on the same page with what you want to do with it and the direction you're going, and if you're not, it's you're in for a rough road.
Not gonna work. Nope.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Totally understand. Yep.
You guys must have had a lot of fun with Grand T too, though, right? Like you guys, how much did you travel around? You played outside of Wisconsin, didn't you?
Yeah. 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 We did a little bit of the college circuit, which is
Mhm.
also slightly hard to tap into, depending on your time and talents and where you are with your music. But yeah, we played in Illinois and Michigan and Minnesota. I think we did a Montana gig once.
Nice.
Um, yeah, we didn't go to all 50 states. We didn't tour for weeks at a time, but
Hmm.
probably 5 days at a time here and there at the most. We call them mini tours, really.
Me too. Yeah, I've heard
Yep.
other musicians reference that as well. So
Yeah.
really, kind of, you were, you guys were kind of a regional band. You kind of made it to that level is probably an accurate way to say it, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. One of our biggest claims, I wouldn't call it claim to fame, but our one of our biggest gigs was I think it was Oshkosh Waterfest, maybe. If they still run that, I'm not sure. I mean, pre-COVID, if they still run it pre-COVID.
Right. Yeah.
Um, we actually opened for Rusted Root, which was really fun.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I got to meet them backstage, and it was a pretty cool experience.
The Irish band scene is kind of its own thing, right? Like kind of like how
It
bluegrass sort of
is,
has its own thing, and
yeah, yeah. It's I think in my experience anyway, which is limited to the last probably 18 years of musicianship, but in my limited
Mhm.
experience of Irish music scene in the States, I think a lot of it had taken off with the band Gaelic Storm and other bands like Cherish the Ladies and Leahy. Um, even, oh boy, it's going to slip my brain, isn't it? It's It's been a while. I haven't thought about these bands in a long time. Flogging Molly is another
Foggy
one.
Molly, yeah,
Dropkick
they were big.
Murphys. I think
Yeah,
all those bands really, when they decided to tweak and slightly Americanize, if you will, the Irish tradition, they
yeah,
really brought it to the States in full force.
yeah. They kind of adopted that pub rock style, with
Pop and Celtic rock
yeah,
and even hard rock mixed in sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah, pretty neat.
sort of a pub style. I thought, like
Hmm, sure.
I don't know why that always made me think of like a pub in Philly or something. I don't know, like like
Or
the drop
Bastard.
like the Dropkick Murphys or something like that.
Or
Did
Pub
you
and
guys
Bastard.
were you guys just all happen to be in Irish music? How did you become an Irish band? Like,
No, I think I blame Eric, my friend in college, Eric
mm,
Fee. He was highly involved with Irish music. I was not. I loved some of the 90s rock and even
mm,
into the 2000s. Um, not necessarily pop rock, but yeah, Eric was to blame, I guess. He loved music with the Irish tradition, and then he didn't mind other influences and mixing it up. And then actually, I think I saw Gaelic Storm perform at the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, and that was a big influence for both of us. After we saw them perform, it's like, hey, that's kind of cool. We could probably do that. Hey.
that's cool.
So yeah, I kind of took off from there.
When did Coletta start join the band?
Yeah, he joined, and he didn't have any Irish influence either before meeting us. But he had our mandolin player, Jonathan Stoffergan, was in his class, his English class,
Hmm.
and I think Jonathan showed up late or completely missed a class, and he walked to John's office and said, "Hey, I'm sorry I missed, but I was late or I missed because of band practice." And John, being the opportunist that he is, he's
Yeah,
like, "What? Really? Okay, let me I want to show you something." So he just broke out his tin whistle. He just started playing for fun, and he went into the hallway or the stairwell of his office building and played
yeah.
it for Jonathan. He's like, "Hey, check this out." He's like, Jonathan said, "Dude, you got to come to our band rehearsal. You just got to come and check it out." And that was really it.
Nice.
We were all sold because we did this really super low key informal
Mhm.
uh, audition. I wouldn't even call it an audition, but
It's kind of just jammed and said, "Yeah, sounds good. You're in."
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well,
But
I gotta say, John Coletta was probably one of my favorite parts about college that I can remember.
oh, was he your
The guy's
professor?
just, yeah, yeah. But the funny
Oh,
thing
cool.
is, so I went to when I went back to school, I went to back to UW Marathon, and I was going to get my associates, and then I was so this was around 2000. I think it was the summer of 2005 is when I
Okay.
met him, and my friend was taking like a private what do you call that? I'm drawing a blank on the name. Like an independent study
Oh yeah. Mm,
was John, and
sure.
he's like, "Yeah, you want to come along? They're reading. It's like sci-fi based. You love sci-fi. You'll probably be into it." And it's like, "Yeah, sure. It sounds great." So I tagged along, and I was just like, "Wow, this guy's something else, man." Like I was
Okay.
into it, and the funny thing is, I did all the readings for the class. My friend like really slagged off on the readings, but I read it all, and I was like, I gotta make sure I can like be able to talk to this guy, like
Right.
damn, he's so smart, like
Yeah.
geez, and
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
and yeah, like we I think he enjoyed what I had to say, and
Hmm.
obviously I enjoyed what he had to say, and I was like, this is a guy I want to learn from, and I was super excited to come to Point because I'm like, wow, is this what the teachers are like? Well,
Hmm.
John's like that. No, I don't think anyone's quite like John anywhere,
No,
but
he's unique. He's a yeah, still a good friend, and yeah, I admire him profusely.
me too. Yeah, I ended up making him I made him my advisor because you could apparently
Oh,
choose,
nice.
and I was in the English department, so
Cool.
so he was happy to do that, and I took probably every class I could that I was able to with him. Yeah, good dude. Actually, I should really have him on the podcast sometime.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he's got a business he's running now that he's retired. It's called Interp, and it's pretty neat business model. Yeah, you should look that up.
Yeah, he gave me a card one time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a few years ago I ran into him at MEJ's, and
Ah,
yeah, I've been meaning to catch up with him anyway. So this is kind of how I do it on the. I just make people come on my podcast now.
it's a good way to do it.
Yeah. It's like I can't talk to anybody unless there's a couple ads beforehand.
Yeah, right.
I'll have to be sponsored.
You're such a capitalist, BK.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez.
I totally
Oh,
am.
man. I feel used. Kidding.
Yeah, I'm super curious about that business. He explained it to me a little bit. He was just starting it out when he gave me that business card, and I don't think I quite understood what he was trying to tell me, what he was doing. I know it. Did it have something to do with semiotics?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even fully understand it. It's not easy to classify or even grasp if you're just looking at it from a distance. But yeah, he would have to kind of go into detail, and I think he's got more experience in partnerships and collaborations that have come about, which kind of tell the story. So. Yeah, he'd be good to talk with about.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun for him to explain it and see if we can make it make sense for the listeners. But
the general populace, yeah.
I went to a semiotics conference with him in Houston. Me and my friend
Nice.
Dave, the same guy who had the independent study that I tagged along with.
Okay. Yeah.
We both went together, and I just some of the panels or the discussions were really interesting, and then some of them was just like, I have no idea what
Peanuts cartoon.
Yeah, we were just staring. I'm like, I have no idea I don't know. Some of them, I'm like, I don't know if they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. Some of them you could tell were really brilliant, and others who were like, okay, I don't know what that. You lost me, man. But yeah,
just
people would
make themselves smart.
Even after I came back from the conference, people would say, well, like, what's semiotics? I'm like, heck if I know. I could give you I can give you an explanation. I still don't think I fully understand it. I don't know if I ever did.
I
kind of don't.
Yeah, I think at its general core, it's like the study of signs.
Study of signs. Yeah, that's usually what I tell people.
Yeah. So like an example I like to use is like the shape of a flower, its petals, and even its stamen. Like it's specifically sign language to a bee or a moth to land there and do its business, harvest, right? Yeah. Whereas it's still transferring some sort of communication to that animal and then propagating itself. It's really interesting.
Yeah, the trifecta, right? The sign, the signifier, and the interpretant. I remember that. That's right.
You got an A.
That's where, yeah. Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah. After that is where it gets all mumbly jumbly. Then it goes down the rabbit hole. But
nice.
Well, how are things in Stevens Point these days?
Well, generally, it's still a pretty cool place to live. It's here. We're present.
Yeah.
I think if it wasn't for kind of where we live, we're pretty close to downtown, as well as how connected this community can be, and even physically is, with things like the Green Circle Trail and the downtown being so vibrant. I think it'd be easy to go crazy during a pandemic,
Yeah.
So even though things are contactless, or I'm not going to take my family to a restaurant to eat inside, we can still navigate all over the place, with masks and being safe, and still make things enjoyable, especially for the kids.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel like Stevens Point adapted? Like, I feel like Wausau did a pretty good job of like a lot of things shifted outside. Like the
Hmm.
Whitewater Music Hall, where I used to host my podcast in person before COVID, and I have a couple times they'll let me use the back room, but for the most part, their dining room is or their inside areas off limits now. But they basically like reshifted and created a beer garden in the back, and so people can go back there and drink coffee or beer. And they've had some music back there, thanks to the Grand Theater lending them some artists since they closed. They had to shut down all their programs.
Right. Yeah.
And the other cool thing going on is dining in the street in on downtown. And I saw that you had posted something that looked similar to that you were pushing for. I don't know if someone else posted it and I saw it or what, but it's been pretty
Sure.
successful for the downtown businesses in Wausau. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the thing that you posted about.
Yeah, I think if it was like if it was more recent, I think there was a grant program federally that Tulsa, Oklahoma had one. Maybe is that what you're thinking of?
That might have been. I just saw it
Yeah.
yesterday, I think. Yesterday or
Sure.
Tuesday? I think yesterday it was.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a more recent um, article that I had read and thought, it's very, very similar to some of the initiatives that have been kind of happening over the years here in
Mhm.
Downtown Point, pre-COVID, of course, and like the parklet program. There's a new ordinance that was passed. I think it was two years ago now, maybe a
Mhm.
year or two ago, where if a business wanted to, if they had the finances, they could actually push some of their service out to the street, whether it's a bar or restaurant or a cafe or some type of service industry. They could take
Mhm.
up parking spots and build a nice, beer garden or an outdoor structure that people can sit at. And there's a myriad of ways to design and fill that void. Um, so things like that are actually happening. More recently, more recently, in the middle of summer, there were a number of folks that pushed for kind of an open carry of intoxicants. So basically, grabbing a beer at Goose or Graffiti's or Main Street Taps or whatever you like to grab your beer at, but and then taking a to-go cup kind of thing out to
Mhm.
the square
Yeah,
in,
that's a
in,
great
to-
idea.
in yeah, in terms of more of an informal downtown beer garden, right?
Mhm.
So that ordinance was changed to allow it, which was nice. And then I think there was a couple of changes to the sidewalk cafe ordinance, just made it less restrictive, a little more flexible in how businesses could
Mhm.
serve in the public right away.
Yeah, that happened in Wausau too.
Yeah. So we never went full fledged shut down the street. I think there were probably too much opposition in removing any parking spaces, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Um,
That's
yeah,
too bad.
yeah,
It's been insanely popular in Wausau. They just do it on Wednesday night. It's from like 5 to 9,
yeah.
and
That's awesome.
the businesses have told me that it was kind of their lifesaver. Like they
Is
said,
that right?
if this hadn't happened, because it was packed, and they bring in music and
Nice.
yeah, I just shut it down for, it's for, I think the crews usually come in, start putting, because actually, I didn't realize they were going to do this. I thought it was just going to be the businesses like moving their tables outside. But they
Sure.
actually, they actually hired a company that comes in and,
Ah,
I'm not sure whose expense it is. Maybe the River District is doing it. But
that's what I was going to ask. Nice.
they brought like a company that brings in these tables on a truck, and they set up these kind of fancy tables in the middle of the street, and then the
Yeah,
businesses also do have their own tables outside. And
cool.
in
That's
Third
awesome.
Street, that those 2 blocks of Third Street, we happen to have quite a few
Right.
restaurants.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So the cluster worked really well. But man, I tell you, I hope after COVID, I think they should just do it anyway, because that would be perfect with concerts on the square.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's always so
exactly.
busy. It's always so busy with people anyway. Why not just? Other people have talked about it too.
Yep.
People said, well, why don't we just shut down the streets around there since it's so filled with people walking back and forth anyway. Like people should
Yeah,
just probably drive around and not go down that way.
exactly.
But
I
that's
mean,
my
even
opinion.
if they're, yeah, even if they're coming from across town and they have to drive, you got the parking garage there on one side. You've got all kinds of street
Mhm.
parking, a block or two away. Yeah, I mean, that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
I
especially
think one of
once
the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially if the plans for our mall's demolition come through and it becomes this big crazy
Like avoid.
metro area. They have
Oh,
some very interesting plans for it. Like it's going to become like a series of mixed use spaces, and they have this big public walkway and this big open area for like a plaza type of a thing. So
oh,
and
neat.
they're also incorporating a lot of the bike ped stuff that was or the street redesigns plan that
Oh,
was put in place for like if the mall's gone, this is what you should do with the streets. And
oh, yeah, yeah.
they all include a lot of bike ped type stuff
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
and getting
That's
rid of
very
all the
cool.
one ways, which is great for drivers too.
Yes, exactly. We have that issue downtown here for sure.
Yeah,
Too many one ways.
yeah, exactly. No one likes them. Yeah, like that big 3-lane road that goes past where the mall was.
Yep, Centerpoint Drive.
Center
Actually,
Point
it now
Drive.
has a really substantive buffered bike lane on it. Brand
Was
new.
it? There you go.
Hmm. Yep.
Good, good.
Yeah.
It makes it easier to get the MEJs now.
MEJ's or Piffner Park or even across the
Yeah.
bridge. If you took that all the way south to Clark Street Bridge, now the Clark Street Bridge had a 4-to-3 conversion. So there's now only two travel lanes and then huge buffered bike lanes
Oh,
back and forth.
nice. All kinds of things happening
Yeah.
there in Point. Good to hear. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's great to see the progress happening, and I feel like do you feel like you're seeing more people riding bicycles since the pandemic?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've actually argued this at two or three city meetings already this season. I think I mentioned it probably in May, June, July, that stretch in the summer, and it actually baffled me because I've been here since '98, so 22 years, and I've never seen so many people riding their bicycle. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, pandemics will do what pandemics do and shift people's habits almost automatically in
Hmm.
certain ways overnight. And then once we have that cabin fever in the North Woods or, the gateway to the pineries of Stevens Point, we're going to get outside. We're going to move, right? We're going to keep
Yeah.
on moving. So, yeah, I wasn't shocked, but at the same time, I was kind of impressed by how many people I've never seen before. Some people I knew, I'm like, wow, you're riding a bike now. That's awesome. But yeah, tons of people.
Yeah, I think I would say going back, when I first moved to Stevens Point in 2010, at the time, I definitely felt like way more people tended to be outside, either riding bicycles or running or walking compared to
Hmm.
Wausau. And there tended to be more, um, I think the pedestrians felt a little safer because it was more common for them to like just step into a crosswalk, like the kind of
Hmm.
behaviors that I would see in from pedestrians in Stevens Point, like you would never do in Wausau because you get run over. And I feel like Wausau too. The thing with Wausau, I grew up riding. I've been bike commuting pretty much all my life, and
Hmm.
Wausau was the thing with Wausau is like when I was a teenager, you could not ride a bike without having something yelled at you at some point on the trip. Like it was
Sure.
guaranteed it would happen.
Right.
And I was just thinking I actually had someone yell something the other day, and I was like, wow, that hasn't happened in years. Like it's crazy that I just feel like and people, it just really seems like the attitudes in Wausau have shifted a lot, like a ton compared to
Right.
when I was growing up, or even I would say even 5 years ago when I moved back to town. I think it's gotten better.
Yeah, I think so. I I think yeah, just the pervasiveness. am I saying that right?
Pervi-
Pervasiveness of
Yeah, you got it.
the number of people riding bicycles or walking, I think has probably been normalized by now. Thinking
Yeah.
the last 10 or 15 years of our better understanding of climate change combined with just basic access by regular people. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, it's just becoming ubiquitous that it's normal. It just feels normal.
Well, the one thing I really miss Stevens Point for for taking long bicycle rides, because what's great about Stevens Point is you can get out of town pretty easily, and once you're out of town, there's all these like country roads that are like, maybe 45-mile-an-hour roads.
Sure.
They're kind of short lanes, but they're like quiet. You hardly see a car on them at all. And I don't know why, but I was just talking with Pokey Pedal Bob about this a couple of weeks ago. But
Oh,
it's like this in Wausau, that doesn't exist as much. It's really hard to get away from traffic because there's traffic everywhere. I'm not really
sure.
sure why that is. Um, I don't know if we just don't have those types of roads, those like old country back roads that they're not like part of a county highway system. They're just kind of out in the country. I'm not really sure what the deal is. Population
Um,
density. We might have
yeah,
more.
yeah, it really comes down to that. I think just how the growth happened outside your city's core. Really, just a kind of a sprawling motion of growth. I'm sorry, I got to pause there. My battery's going to die on my laptop. I will
Okay.
be right back.
Hey,
Okay, just
hey,
a
you know
second.
what?
Yeah.
I was gonna say we're actually pretty close to wrapping up. If you just
Oh,
wanted to
we are.
wrap
Okay.
up,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if people want to find you or follow Curbwise, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. If they jump on the web, you go to www.gocurbwise.com, or
There
you
we
can jump
go.
on Facebook and search for Curbwise LLC.
Cool, man. Well, hey, it's been great talking with you today, Trevor. And as always, I have all my guests say keep it awesome. So keep it awesome, Trevor.
Keep it awesome.
Hey, and
Thanks,
you
BK.
guys, thank you. You guys out there, keep it awesome too. And join us next time for our next episode. Take care.
Yep.